Today we're going to make red rice. So what we're going to need is 2 peppers, an onion, some garlic powder or garlic if you want, black pepper, a little bit of salt, 1 pound, or well, this is a 12-ounce pack of smoked sausage. I like beef smoked sausage, you can get whichever one you want, and then about 1 pound of bacon. So we're going to start off by cutting our bacon up, and then we'll get that in the pot. You want to use a deep pot, then you won't have to transfer it. So there's a couple different ways to make it. One way is you could cook it all in one pot like this, or the other is you could cook the ingredients, mix them up, and then bake them. So a lot of people bake it. That's fine. If you want to bake it, after you get everything done, you're going to add the liquid, cover it with tin foil, and bake it at 350 for an hour or so. I don't like doing the baking method. I like this method better. So we're going to cook it on the stove, and then we're going to cook it just like our rice, which is going to go for about 30 minutes or so on low. Once we get everything cooked and added to the pot. The other way I've had issues with it burning. So if you do it the baked way, then you're going to want to transfer it. You're going to want to transfer it into another pan. So don't use the pan that you cook with. Transfer it into something else. Because that bottom, where it's hot, once you put it in the oven, it will burn the bottom. So be careful. Alright, so, and I understand I said doo-doo in that video. So we're going to go ahead and saute this bacon. And while we're dealing with the bacon, we're going to cut our vegetables. If I was going to cut separately, then I would worry about washing this floor, but all this stuff's going in the pan. It's all going to get cooked together, so I don't care. I'm not worried about contaminating it. We're going to eat it all together as it is. Get all the seeds out. If you haven't grown anything before, peppers are pretty easy to grow. So you could dry these seeds out, and then you could plant them. You could save that. As you can see, there's a ton of seeds inside that. So you have a whole bunch of pepper plants. You wouldn't have to buy peppers anymore. Make sure you take the stickers off. I already did that when I washed it. So everybody's at the store picking up each pepper and holding it and figuring out which one they want and fooling around. So we want to clean those off. The seeds are where the heat is in the pepper. So if you have a hot pepper, most of the heat, like something like jalapeno, most of the heat is in the seed. So keep that in mind too. That's where the spiciness from the green pepper comes. It's more sweet when we cook it. Not as sweet as a red pepper, but more sweet than a jalapeno. I'm gonna season this with my pepper. I don't have to use salt on this one right now. We have bacon in there, so we're adding salt to the recipe anyway with this bacon. If you use less bacon, I would add more salt. I'll probably put a tablespoon or so in there just for the rice, when we get to that part. Be pretty generous with the black pepper. I'll put at least a tablespoon or so. And then, depending on how much garlic you like, that's about a teaspoon. We'll do 2 of them. We're going to start to render this bacon down. And then then we'll add our vegetables in. So I'm going to get it cooked down about 3/4 of the way before I add these vegetables. So we can still prep that. I'll set it up so we have kind of an assembly line going. And I'll bring it up close too so you all can see my rice. So we're just going to cut it into julienne. Make sure you're keeping your fingers back out of the blade. And then turn it sideways. And then cut it again. Okay. And then there's our peppers diced. I would go on the side of them being smaller than large. I don't want giant chunks in this. We're not making jambalaya. With the rice, I'm using a long grain rice. Some people use parboiled rice, that's fine. This is long grain jasmine or basmati rice, either one of those is fine. So what you're going to have with this is you're going to have the taste of black pepper and then the green pepper. So we're going to have definitely a pepper flavor to it. And then the red is going to come from tomatoes. And I use tomato paste because tomato paste is sweet. So it kind of balances everything out. Some people use tomato sauce or canned tomatoes. That'll be fine too. It just won't give you any sweetness that the tomato paste will give you. Plus tomato paste is thicker. With the water, with the rice we're going to use water, but we could also use stock. So if you have chicken stock laying around or something like that, you could add it to this. You want to make some stock? Most of this recipe is just in the prep. I use 2 peppers. You could put 3 if you like more. If you don't like peppers, you could substitute it with celery. Let's put it with green pepper. And I like to cook my vegetables before I add the rice and everything. I want my vegetables to be to the texture I want, so they're gonna be soft before I put that rice in there, because whatever you have going into the rice cooking part of it, it's not gonna cook a whole lot more. You would think it would, but it isn't really gonna cook down too much more than that. So if they're crunchy going in to putting the rice in, it's gonna still be crunchy. I'm gonna clear off this pepper, and then we'll cut the onion. We're going to dice the onion too, small dice on the onion. Make sure you keep all the skins and the food end off of there, off your board, so you don't have that inside what you're eating. We don't have much waste in this. Put this together here. It's all diced. We'll go back over here. Take a look at what's going on in the pot. That bacon's getting nice and rendered down. We're gonna slice up the smoked sausage and put that with there too. Some people make discs. They cut it in a roundabout or diced up. Just depends on how you feel like having it. I'm gonna cut it like this. And I'm gonna cut them in half one. So demi room. So you get a decent piece of sausage, you know, with your bite. When they're in giant pieces, like what you do for a low country boil, it's too much. I like to get all my ingredients on. If I'm eating a dish, I want to have, when I take a bite, I want that fork or that spoonful to have all the items in there. So we have to think about how we're cutting this to make sure we're doing something like that, making it edible on the other side. Think about what you want to have when you're done. And usually I'd be using the belly of the knife more, but I'm a little overcrowded here on this board. Okay. So I'll add the sausage in. And our veg. I'm pulling off, like it's caramelized down to the bottom. So I'm pulling off some of the drippings off the bottom of that pan. And we're just gonna keep cooking this down. We're gonna cook it down until it's nice and soft. Then we're gonna add the rest of our ingredients, which is gonna be tomato paste, 3 cups of water or stock, and 2 cups of rice. We'll put the lid on it, and then we'll cook that for about 30 minutes on low. So when we add that water, we're gonna actually let it come up on high a little bit just so that we go ahead and start to boil it, and then we'll turn it down to low. And that's gonna be a combination of boiling and steaming the rice. So if you have a rice cooker, you have an Instapot or something like that, you could do it in there too. I have directions in the cookbook that you can follow. It works fine that way. When I put mine in too, I don't want the tomatoes to burn, because tomatoes have a tendency to do that, like we were talking about before when we bake it in the oven. So I'll actually put it at the top with the liquid, and then I'll stir that in through it as it goes. when it's almost done cooking, I'll mix it all in. I don't put the tomato sauce with the water. I'll just give it a quick little stir, but I keep a lot of it up at the top so it doesn't go to the bottom and burn. This is on medium-high heat. So again, this is Southern cooking, right? There's not a ton of ingredients, but they're ingredients that are nice and tasty, quality. And what we do with it, when we put these all together, is going to create something amazing. That's what I like about Southern cooking. We're using very few things. And sometimes it's really cheap things. The flavors go together well. So we're going to get people that think, well, maybe that's not enough water for me. I'm used to hearing 1 cup of water and 1 cup of rice. Well, we have liquid here from all this. We have sausage, we have some of the fat from the bacon, we have peppers and onions. They're mostly moisture, right? When they cook down, they're going to release a lot of liquid. So we're going to run with 2 cups of rice, 3 cups of liquid, plus whatever else is in the pot. We're going to let that saute down for a little bit, and we'll be back in here shortly. Okay, so it's been about another 10 minutes or so. And we cook down the vegetables to where they're nice and soft. So hopefully you can see it. There's a whole bunch of liquid down in the pot. That's just from the vegetables, right? It's just the moisture being released. So we're not going to count that. That's not going to count towards our liquid. Alright, we're going to take 2 cups of rice. I want to stir it in there and get it coated in the oil and all the drippings there. So you want that flavor. Okay, and then make sure the rice is down. So if you have pieces of rice up along the side of the pan, they're not going to cook. So don't be surprised when you have crispy rice at the top. So we're going to put this nice and flat. Add our tomato paste. I'm using 2 cans. And I'm going to go with a little bit more rice. Actually, I'm going to put the rest of it in there. You could use 1 can if you want. I want to keep, like I said, I want to keep most of this towards the top because I don't want that to burn. And we're going to add our water. Yeah, I'm going to go with just a little bit more water because I added the rest of that rice. So another, of course, half a cup of water. Give this a little stir. All right. Now, we're going to bring this up to a boil. And then we're going to bring it back down to a simmer. So we'll bring it up to a boil, put a lid on it, and bring it to a simmer and cook it for about 25 minutes or so on as low as you can. Even maybe 30 you might need. You'll see when you pull the lid and you see if it has a lot of liquid still, you could give it a little bit more time. There's going to be liquid sitting on the top probably when you're done. You're going to want to stir it into there. Okay, so it will be deceiving. You'll think, oh wait, there's too much liquid in there. Well, it'll be fine. So like I said, we're going to bring this heat up now that everything's in there. I scraped everything off the bottom. So all that flavor, everything that was cooked there in that pot is going to go and get absorbed in that rice. We're going to let this come to a boil, like I said. Then we'll put the lid on, make sure it's a tight fitting lid, and then bring it down to as low as you can, 2 or simmer, whatever your stove shows you. Or at that point, take all of that, take all of this, put it in another container, and like a baking dish, and then go ahead and wrap it tight in foil and bake it for an hour. Those are the 2 ways you could do this. Third way you could do it is if you have a crock pot or an Instapot or something like that, you could put it in there. So I'm just going to give this a little bit more stir. I want to make sure I don't have anything stuck to the bottom as this comes up to a boil. Give you guys a smell of that right there. Oh, you can't smell it on camera, darn. That would be good. If you've ever made jambalaya, it's similar to this. So this might look kind of familiar. Usually it will have chicken or shrimp in there. All right. So that's what we want. Like the reason why I'm over here stirring this is we have tomato in here. And tomato will burn on the bottom of the pot, just like cream. So you don't want to have burn. The smell, the taste, it will go right through the rice. So if you burn anything at the bottom of this pan, it will just permeate the rice. It'll taste really smoky. Now we're going to turn it down to low. As low as we could get. Put the lid on and let it steam. Alright, we'll come back when this is all done. It's going to take probably between 25 minutes and a half an hour. Alright, so it's been about 25 minutes. We're going to take the lid off of this here and see where we're at. See how there's liquid on the top? That's going to be fine. Just going to give this a stir. Stir everything off the bottom. And then we're going to just take this, just test the rice here and make sure that it's good. Take this off the heat, let it sit there, and it will absorb the rest of the moisture. I'll leave it sit there for like another 20 minutes or so and just sit there and suck up what's left. That's how you make red rice. I hope everybody enjoys it. Let me give you another shot. A bit mixed up though, sorry. Might have missed that. Got too excited about it being done. So there you go. Like I said, we're going to keep the lid on and let it soak up the rest of that moisture. And then we're going to chow down. So I hope you enjoyed the recipe.